So this is it. This is my new car, my Citroen GSA. I'm not entirely sure what trim level it is. I thought it was a special, which is the bottom of the range model, because ridiculously for a car I've bought, it doesn't have a rear wiper. But it's got a rev counter, which is slightly sporty. And it's got coach lines that are starting to peel off, which is perhaps not ideal. I don't know if they're going to stick back on. No hope. We'll see how they do on the long drive back home to Wales. But it has got a brown interior with these strange white door cards, but the controls have all gone blue. I think this car, get out of the wind for a bit, might be a bit of a mismatch. But of course, being a GSA, it's got all this wonderful wackiness going on. We've got a slight issue that the battery light seems to be on permanently, or flickers permanently. So that's not great, but apparently it does charge. It's just that isn't very good. Some really bad scratching on the outside of the windscreen there. I don't know if there are any hopes of polishing that out. That wiper blade appears to be ancient and isn't working very well. I thought wiper blades were now part of the MOT, but apparently not. But yeah, we've got all this lovely wackiness. When we took it on the test drive, the wipers didn't work at all. The wires have been disconnected for some reason. That's all fine. There's more random disconnect going on down here as well. All fun times. But yeah, got the ignition barrel down here, choke control here, rotating drum speedo. The only issue there being that about 5 miles into the drive home, the speedo failed, and that no longer works, so that's not ideal. It's got a 1.3 litre version of the flat 4. That was the biggest engine they fitted to these. It's got a 5-speed gearbox, and I have big plans. I want to take this car to Paris in May, so the 1.35 speed was the one to go for. Heater controls here. So fan as you come up to these settings. That's the handbrake, complete with the button on the wrong side for the UK market. You really want the button, the release button, to be this side, but no, it's there, so you have to kind of release it underneath. What's that? That appears to be brake pads, very badly worn brake pads. That's good. The stereo is entirely missing, and we've got more of this sort of what looks like badly painted plastic. It's all a bit peculiar. But my girlfriend has already taken this headrest off because they are very headresty. They are in your head. I might need to adjust mine. You can move them up and down and turn them upside down and all sorts. And yeah, the boot is full of my stuff. But we need to get all the way back. First job is to refuel. We're just fueling ourselves at the garden centre at the moment. So grab some petrol and then head back to Wales. And we can't linger. So we'll have to do some more video on this another day. But that's where we are. It's a bit of a mishmash. I'm not sure it feels like value yet at £3,500. I think I may have overpaid a little, but then I did buy it when I wasn't even in the country. I've just noticed we've got a couple of spare lamp lenses in there for the interior light. That one looks a lot better, I'd say. So there we go. 76,000 miles on the clock. No idea when the cam belts will last them, but I kind of know of the previous owner, so I can ascertain all this information. But yeah, I'm going to find my girlfriend. She's gone for lunch, and we're going to head back. So let a good time roll. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm really tired. I really want a break. I shouldn't be doing this at all. I should stop, because it's still only the day after I flew back into the UK. So we're back in Wales, back in Aberystwyth indeed, in a glamorous supermarket car park. It is coming up to 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and the car park here at Morrison's supermarket is absolutely rammed. There's stuff pouring in. But it's my friend Barry's Citroen BX. I assume he's in Morrison's at the moment, next to my new GSA, which is an interesting chance to compare the two, because the GSA was replaced by the BX. This is Citroen's 1970s car next to its 1980s one, despite the fact this is an 80s GSA and a 90s BX. But there you go. But both hydro pneumatic, but the BX is based around the floor pan of the Citroen BX. It has McPherson struts, but with hydraulics, hydro pneumatic suspension. So very similar in some ways, but very different in others. It has a transverse engine. It has Peugeot's range of entirely dull motors, and is all the better for it. But we just come into the GSA for a moment because it's quite cool. a little smelly in here this morning. So we had a slight issue where after about a mile, no, it was about 5 miles, the speedo cable broke, I think. So we've got no speedometer at the moment, which is making life a bit interesting. But it turns out these seats are out of a GSA Palace, the top spec model, or maybe even a GS Palace. They look a little older. We've taken the head restraint cushions off because they just get in the back of your head. The door cards were blue and have been painted white. I have spoken to the previous owner. I should hopefully be seeing him. The plan is to drive this car to Paris for a GS anniversary in May, but obviously coronavirus may impact that plan. But if that happens, I'll be able to meet Dan, who used to own this car, and can quiz him a bit more about it. But the restoration of the body was done by Chevronics, so I'm quite happy about that. Unfortunately, I don't have a grille screen with the car, which I meant to put on the grille at the front to restrict air access when temperature's below 10 degrees, which it is today. It's 8, which is a bit of a shock after the Antipodes. So yeah, there's that to sort out. Something else I need to sort out is wiper blades, but I'll do that after the live transmission. I need to go to the Rydal Railway now, and I'm going to do the live reveal of this car. So we'll get that out of the way, and then I can do a bit more about this car and what I hope to do with it. I'm still trying to rest, so I'm not recording too much video at the moment because my brain is absolutely fried. But we'll get this out of the way and see where we end up. Probably about time we had some onboard footage, wouldn't you say? Heading to the unit today. Need to start waking up the fleet. There's also some jobs I need to do on this car, like sorting out these blooming seat belts, but don't actually pivot on their mountings. That needs to be sorted out. But yeah, here we are behind the wheel of the Citroen GSA. I've got my controls here, indicators, etc. Lights, all very convenient and there. And I've got buttons variously here. Because this has a Palace binnacle, I have a digital clock as well as the rev counter and the non-working speedometer. People in the live video were asking about the strange thing down here next to the gear selector. That's just my little USB bullet, which sadly doesn't work. Seem to have a issue with a cigarette lighter, so I need to look at that because that's a very useful thing to have working. But otherwise, I think it's probably time we go. In fact, we can go straight for an acceleration test because we're straight into a 60 limit here. 0 to 60 time is officially 12 seconds, I think. 66 brake horsepower in these 1.3 litres. And I think 3,000 revs is about 60 miles an hour. Because I haven't got a speedometer, it's a little tricky to tell. It's not a very good gear change. It was never a strong point of these cars. After the rifle bolt of the dashboard change on the 2CV, that is a bit of a shock. I've got fresh air vents to the outer edges of the dashboard, so that's providing air to the face, while these vents provide warmth, as do dash vents and floor vents. And we're just coming down to Aberaeron here in Ceredigion. Coronavirus reached here at the weekend, so there's no escape anywhere. I'm having a nice quiet day at the unit on my own. I'm hoping that won't be a problem. The handling's unusual. I keep on forgetting it hasn't got power steering, and unfortunately the rim of this wheel is very, very slippy, so I might have to do one of those, get one of those steering wheel covers for it. It might make life a lot easier. The brakes are ferocious, absolutely ferocious, so you go gently on the pedal. But otherwise, yeah, the car floats along. It sounds a little noisy over broken terrain. There's a lot of suspension noise, which surprises me. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if you just saw the reverse lights come on that Merc Sprinter. That's just something they do. The switches don't seem very well adjusted, and when you go for first gear, it accidentally sets off the reverse light sensor. There's a little nugget you didn't know, but having driven many miles in Volkswagen Crafters, which are badge engineered Sprinters, I know this to be true. Especially annoying in the rain because it puts the rear wipers on, even if the screen's dry. It's a very well mannered car. I find pulling away sometimes quite difficult. If you let it bog too much, it just bogs completely and just dies. So I'm not sure if there's just a bit of muck in the carburettor. Perhaps maybe a service will improve matters. A service is definitely on the cards at some point. But it's a nice quiet car. It's aerodynamic as well, although I'm not expecting great economy. I can't work out the economy because I haven't got a working trip meter at the moment because of the dead speedometer. That is something I definitely need to investigate. But you get a lovely flat 4 soundtrack. It's yeah, I like it a lot. Very smooth engine actually for an air-cooled flat 4. And a very likeable package. So naturally there will be a lot more to come on this car. I hope to do a great deal more with it. There are a number of things I need to sort out. The seat belts, the speedo cable. I need to try and do something about the windscreen. It's been really badly scratched. I don't know what someone has used to clean the outside of it here. But it was very sharp by the look of it. It's made a right blooming mess. So that needs sorting out. So I'm not sure if it is possible to repair windscreens that have been that badly scratched, but if you've got any suggestions, please do let me know. Otherwise, I plan to just enjoy this car for a bit. Might bring her into storage. Today I'm going to assess the fleet and start waking up some of the other members of the fleet. There's a lot of salt around at the moment and moisture. Not ideal for a GSA. So yeah, I might hide her away a bit until the weather improves. Which begs the question, which car do I get out of storage first? There is a little bit of pinking as well, even though I'm running her on super unleaded, so the ignition timing may need a tweak. At the moment I'm driving around it. If you hear the engine pinking, then ease off the throttle is the best solution. Only does it under full bore acceleration. And even then, only sometimes. Very high revving engines. The 1222cc version produces maximum power at 6,250 RPM. But yeah, I love these cars. They're just so Citroen. This is like peak Citroen in many ways, the GS and the CX. After that, they were rather forced to toe the Peugeot line and tone down the madness a bit, which helped the BX. The BX sold extremely well because it was a bit toned down. It had wider appeal. It was more normal to drive. But oh no, this is the one for me. Delightful rack and pinion steering, superb brakes. I mean, I can't overstate how important brakes are in a car. If I'm going to push on in a car, I want to know I can stop if I have to, and these really can. The limiting factor is tyre grip. Yeah, I think this is going to be a nice car. They do roll a bit, but it's nothing to be alarmed about. So there are two reasons why I decided to buy a GSA. Well, actually maybe there's a few reasons. One is its anniversary year for the GS, 50 years of the GS, and I think it's 40 years of the GSA. So there are celebrations this year that I hope to get involved with. Secondly, this is probably top of my bucket list on cars, along with the Citroen AMI 6 Berline. Sadly, prices have pushed AMI 6 Berlines out of my reach. They are just wonderfully wacky looking things. And I don't think an AMI 6 will match my requirements for a car as well as this one will. What I have been craving is comfort and waft. And the difficulty is, I wanted comfort and waft in a small package. So I was thinking, which small cars actually have comfortable suspension and seats, and the Citroen GS and GSA were top of that list, and so yeah, I decided to go for it. Also a mild bit of midlife crisis going on as well, I think, and I was indulging in a little retail therapy during an unhappy moment on the trip. Yeah, I'm back now and I'm very happy that I had my little crisis, because this is a really nice car. I think that's probably enough of this for now. I'm going to continue on to the unit, and yeah, we'll see what I actually end up driving home in. I'm not entirely sure myself yet. Struggling to decide between City Rover and 2CV. Such is my life. More on this car and many others coming soon. I'm not going to pursue, just enjoy.